What's up, everyone? I'm Kailey. I'm a math teacher, a curriculum writer, and I'm a big esports advocate because I believe that every student's passion deserves a place in our schools. Whether you're a teacher, an administrator, a parent, or a player yourself, you know that there are some common arguments against esports, especially in the K-12 environment. Today, I want to offer some other perspectives to keep in mind as we continue this conversation. I'm going to address 5 misconceptions about video games in general and esports specifically, from an anti-naive, pro-progress, well-cited perspective. Let's get started. Misconception or overgeneralization number 1. Video games glorify violence. It's undeniable that many video games are inappropriate. I personally don't play video games with realistic violence, and luckily, not all options for esports, especially in K-12, are violent. We've got Rocket League, League of Legends, the Mario franchise, Dota 2, Hearthstone, and yes, I'll even plug Fortnite and Overwatch here because that violence is much more cartoonish. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, how can you know they're violent? Just like traditional sports, some video games are more aggressive than others. A vote for your kid to play football is a very different vote than they're playing tennis. And even our hockey players need a place to work out that aggressive sport in a mentored way. Video games, when coached and supported by adults in a student's life, become a safe, transparent place to discuss any violence they might encounter. It's also a safe place to practice failure, recovery, encouragement, and what it means to be part of a team. I think we can all agree that we'd rather have our kids playing in a safe, supported environment rather than sticking to a solo activity. Misconception number 2. Anonymity online breeds toxicity. Okay, this is absolutely a real concern for any and all online activity, especially social media. Cyberbullying isn't new and it's not going anywhere, and it's certainly not singular to the esports environment. But rather than handling this alone in their downtime hobby, esports as a team encourages a way to de-anonymize the experience. You have a coach and a curriculum to be held accountable for. You have a charter that you wrote together as a team. You have standards you have to live up to because you have pride in your behavior because you're essential as a player. That being said, there is a huge initiative in the gaming world to call out player toxicity, especially towards women, led by some of the biggest esports names out there. We can't ask for better real-world examples of the necessity of social emotional learning. Our students will immediately realize the impact of demonstrating sportsmanship, communication, integrity, and self-control when they see it being discussed in the global context of their favorite esports. Speaking of women, another incredible thing about esports is that it transcends gender identity, able-bodiedness, and age all on one team. You can have a 3rd grade boy sitting next to a high school non-binary student, and if they're both awesome at esports, it doesn't matter who can outrun the other. Esports is also incredibly global. Teams don't have to be in person to play each other. In fact, many esports players have friends from countries they've never visited. How often are we able to get that kind of real-world global collaboration before we hit the real job market? This is real-life practice for the kind of global society that we're trying to grow our children towards. So why not put it in K-12? Argument number 3, students don't need more screen time. Totally! Who doesn't agree with this? No one out here is advocating for more screen time. What we're suggesting is that you take the screen time students are already spending alone and unstructured and make it part of the fabric of their school day to increase buy-in. We're bringing it out from a solitary experience that occurs outside of school and turning it into a reason to ask students to have more pride in being at school. There are countless stories, linked in the blog post, about students who previously were disengaged, went home after school, had no school pride, now asking to extend their school day so that they can be with their team and practice their hobby alongside a mentored professional. They feel respected and valued, and when you value their sport, you buy yourself their respect and thus your right to weigh in on their screen time. There is nothing wrong with saying that when students are at home, they need to take a break. Put it in the team charter, make it a team value. There are a ton of pro esports players who agree. Argument number 4. Video games are addictive while traditional sports aren't. This is a great point about physical fatigue. I can only play soccer for so long before I physically cannot anymore, but hours can fly by while I'm playing a video game. This isn't crazy. This is a very real concern. But I also want to bring up something that's often left out of this part of the conversation. When anyone at any age is passionate about something and loses themselves for hours, they're in a state of flow. Since the idea of platonic ideals, we have argued about highbrow and lowbrow art, or worthwhile ways to waste your time and noble things to lose yourself in. And we will continue to debate that forever. What I'm more interested in is this. When a kid is in the flow of a video game, it's because it's just the right amount of hard. It's just the right amount of challenge with just the right amount of stakes. Isn't this the dream state that we're all trying to achieve in our schools with our lessons and our jobs and our hobbies? Let's harness this passion, give it some structure, and erect some boundaries. So the second thing I want to say about the idea that video games are addictive. Yeah, they are. Addiction also flourishes in solitude. Let's bring it out into the light. And yeah, get them out of the seat and ask them to coach. Ask them to shot call. Ask them to observe. Ask them to log on the whiteboard. You're part of a team now. You're not just a player. Give the kids the kind of structure that disrupt the addiction cycle. And I'll say it again. Put it in your charter. No playing at home after we have practice days. Argument number 5. Our students need physical wellness and better grades, not more video games. Yes, no argument from me here. But are we really saying that our video gamers are going to get worse grades if they're being held accountable to a team that has a GPA requirement? Are we really saying that we're worried about this student's level of engagement when they have the esports team right next to the chemistry teacher and their Spanish teacher doubles as their esports coach? Nah. Schools with esports teams reported higher grades and more student engagement from their players. And you know why? Because for the first time, these students felt needed and seen and a part of a team. This might be the first time that they've ever experienced belonging. Secondly, many pro esports athletes tout the importance of wellness, linked in the blog post, because it leads to mental sharpness, and that's what wins games. And many professional athletes are gamers. No, really. It's possible to have more than one passion. Just like we always want our football players to be in the school musical, #Disney plot, it's possible for our debate team to be on the lacrosse team, the chess team, and yes, the esports team. Wait, one more. And if we're so concerned with the physical wellness of our students, which we should be for every student, hello, golfers aren't getting any cardio, then feel free to instill some kind of wellness component on your esports team. Instill a morning workout, make it a prerequisite activity that they need to be involved in another sport, or follow the lead of a public school in Norway, whose esports lounge doubles as a workout room. And when you're not scrimmaging, you're working out. What's the bottom line? We will achieve so much more with an esports team than we risk losing. What we'll gain? Engaged students who maybe for the first time feel a sense of accomplishment and belonging. They couldn't stop rock and roll. They're not going to stop esports. Rock on.